Previously on Elephant's Eye.
Who exactly are you looking for?
Depth-deprived niece.
She's dead.
What?
In 1957, historian, Nobel laureate, and world champion curler Ekton Spritzel made a most fascinating discovery. Locked inside a small, antique chest found hidden under a turn-of-the-century dwelling in Whitechapel were a series of journals penned by Joe Merrick, the legendary Elephant Man. Within these long-lost tomes, a startling tale unfolded. A story the British police force, government, and even the monarchy attempted to hide under concrete, as you would a dead hitchhiker. Ekton passed suddenly and quite unexpectedly, whilst taking part in a horseboxing match. But his legacy lives on in the program you are about to hear. Elephant's Eye, the untold tales of Joe Merrick. Adapted for the wireless and narrated by me, Horatio Fife. Part 3. Marston could not be left alone for more than a few hours. That much had become all too clear, though I'm loath to send the man out into the street on his patoot. His knack for sniffing out crime saved our skins on numerous occasions, much is the reason I deride vocally, yet allow his drug use. Must keep a close eye on him from this moment forth. It'll be damn near impossible to arrange for a nanny at such short notice. The hospital loomed above us, its towers standing guard over the sick, together with a number of chimney stacks which no doubt exacerbated the ailments being treated by the staff. Trails of sunlight jabbed easily through the dwindling cloud cover, like hot knives through a baby's back.
I take it you've a plan mapped out for this already, Joe.
Our first port of call should be the office of Freddie Treves, a dear friend of mine.
I have a vague recollection of him. When exactly did we meet?
It was the day of the office move. I was hefting heavy boxes with little help from you.
Well, that's untrue. I was there with you on the first day. I remember it perfectly. We just got the keys from the landlord, and a man 18 feet tall and made of wood shavings was helping us move in our belongings.
You were, in actual fact, shivering and hallucinating in a corner until the early evening, as you did most days during the first year. The giant was none other than Fred.
But the wood shavings man, and... Wait. No, you're right. It was before the higher quality produce began making the rounds.
I can recall with an altogether exasperated familiarity your daytime habits of the period.
A great many people affectionately call them smack lulls. Now, this Fred must be on the level. Even our closest friends were all unable to lend a hand during the move, with excuses ranging from having quite suddenly to visit Dunny on the World for a business meeting, no longer being in possession of one's arms due to a tractor-related mishap, and suffering a debilitating case of shingles, which I'm sure have nothing to do with illness, and are more closely related to masonry.
No, that was the only genuine reason given. It's a recently discovered medical issue. Quite a nasty rash, or so I'm told. You've confused it with shingles.
Well, that's going to cause no end of embarrassment if someone gets confused. Could they not have given it a more original name?
I'm sure Bright was riddled with anguish as he drafted his findings to be published in a medical journal.
Really?
Of course not. It seems very doubtful a person in the throes of the disease will accidentally contact a roofer. Adding to that, someone who requires their house be repaired is hardly going to consult his local physician.
Hold your pace and look at this sign. Heavens above, they can't be serious.
Yes, they don't allow smoking in sterile environments.
Oh, it's a picture of a ciggy, though. Must mean pipes are quite welcome.
Obviously.
That's the good stuff.
Excuse me, gentlemen, this is a no-smoking hospital.
The sign makes no mention of a ban on pipe use. See? Just cigarillos.
By Jove, you're right. My apologies, boys. Smoke up. You can only be diagnosed with terminal cancer once.
Before you go, sir, can you settle an argument I'm having with the good gentleman accompanying me related to a medical condition?
Oh, of course, my uniquely shaped chum.
Do you believe that anyone, to your knowledge, has confused roof shingles with rash shingles?
Only if they're the product of a union between cousins.
They both sound like very real possibilities to me.
Well, for you they most certainly are, as you're so easily confused. Take, for example, the instance when you mixed up pliers with pliés, which resulted in a poor innocent ballet dancer being castrated.
Oh, come on, Joe. I did that fellow an unimaginably helpful service. His falsetto improved dramatically.
Yes, and so excited by the prospect of life without his genitals was he, that within a month the lad threw himself from atop the Royal Italian Opera.
Though he was professional to his end, he waited until intermission so as not to spoil the show.
That was only because he knew people would be outside to watch it happen. He was supposed to be in the second half.
Well, I guess he's just fallen around 80 feet, in my estimation.
Your sharpness of wit is matched only by the crepuscule in your heart.
Yes, which I consider to be a blessing and a curse in equal measure. Did I mention that Archibald visited me too, claiming to have died several months before? Said he couldn't help as his spectral form rendered him unable to carry anything corporeal.
Have you forgotten Archibald did die 6 months previous to our signing of the property deeds?
Are you certain of this?
We went to his funeral.
We attended 36 that year.
You urinated in the coffin.
Oh, that's an old Marston tradition. Dates back over 100 years to my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, Tobias Marston. He claimed that his tear ducts incorrectly led to his glands instead of his eyes.
Then you tried to steal his gold teeth.
Well, now you've just described a rather standard list of activities I engage in at a funeral. So, what was Fred's game? I'd wager he simply wandered over to gawk at you like a sideshow oddity.
No, quite the opposite. While gazing from his office window, he'd spied me in some distress and came to my aid. Thanks to his act of kindness, what once stood as an empty shell now resembled a legitimate business by midday.
Well, that sounds like the actions of a secret gawker. And they do exist, I assure you. And they're everywhere. Carnaby Street, secret gawkers. Oxford Circus, secret gawkers. Kentish Town has it worst of all. Secret Jewish gawkers.
Wait. Are they secret gawkers who happen to be Jewish, or secret Jews who happen to be gawkers?
No, they're secret gawkers who are also secretly Jewish.
Something tells me you've no clue what you're actually saying. Is this another attack of unnecessary paranoia?
It's very necessary paranoia, I'll have you know. Wonderful that we've friends who can perform emergency and quite possibly illegal surgeries if ever the need arose.
We don't have doctor friends. I do.
Now, don't be snippy. There's no I in the elephant's eye. Wait. No. There's obviously an I, but it's the word I and not the letter I.
Let us continue this riveting conversation at a later date. Good afternoon, miss. I and my associate would like an audience with the good Dr. Treves.
You have an appointment?
Unfortunately not. Spur of the moment visit. Tell him old Slurpee is here.
One moment. I'd like to use the internal communication system.
You have an intercom. Very modern.
Indeed we does. Now watch, right? First, I press this button on my desk like so. Then, I shout down the corridor in direction to Dr. Treves' office thusly. Dr. Treves! I've an odd-looking gentleman going by the name Old Slurpee and an obviously intoxicated and near-dead drug addict to see you.
Well, just a minute.
Do you hear that?
How could I not? This deformity didn't dull my hearing, especially when people bellow at each other between rooms. Now, this building has wonderful acoustics to allow it to travel so far.
Very true, Mr. Slurpee. You're most welcome to pop by of a Friday Eve when we wheel out the dine and use the space as a music venue.
Isn't that catastrophically unwise?
Oh, I know. We use earplugs.
I mean for the patients.
The bed warmers? Those that are of a lucid disposition quite enjoy it. We do lose a smattering, but less from the better, I say. Do you require directions, Dr. Treves' office?
Not at all, my dear. Fred and I are more than mere acquaintances. Spent many an afternoon here. Before your time, I'd wager. As it would seem you had until now avoided seeing my unique facial structure.
Very true. Never forget a face, me. Ain't no one could forget a face like that.
Perhaps we've more in common than you think. After all, an elephant never forgets.
Stop. No. Are you still attempting to make that your thing?
Every great detective needs a catchphrase. It's my elementary, Watson.
Whilst all the other digs require a catchphrase to be memorable, you need not blindly follow them simply to further your ego.
It's not just for the purposes of ego stroking. Having a catchphrase will most certainly aid us in generating positive word of mouth about the agency. People more often recall a detective with an amusing retort.
Do you genuinely believe the public will forget one with such a bunce as yours?
I suppose you're correct. I'm just envious.
Well, you know what happens to envious people? They develop gangrene.
No, Austin. They become a green-eyed monster.
A feeling can't cause you to physically transform. What a preposterous notion.
It's from Othello.
From a fellow? Which fellow?
Othello. The Shakespeare play.
Nope. Can't stand the man's work. Far too verbose. I much prefer those brilliant plays where a group of men in police officers' uniforms whip a man dressed as a criminal for an hour. Very experimental.
Those are public floggings, Marston. Considering your unsettling enthusiasm for executions, I find it hard to believe you thought it was staged.
Well, no one died at the end, so I thought it was just theatre.
We approached the door and knocked thrice, as every gentleman should. A loud clattering emanated from beyond. The sound of a man simply sprucing up his often neglected office for guests, or something grisly being hidden. Concern grew in my mind, and I began to wonder if Reddy may not only have further details about the killer's identities, but was connected in some way to the crimes. Never has a fellow desired to uncover the truth about a compatriot who, through either boredom or morbid fascination, turns to the life of the serial murderer.
Come in.
Ah, Freddy.
Oh, Slurpy indeed. It's been far too long.
Yes, not since Francesca's incident at the gardener's ball.
One never saw it coming, did she? The eld and infirm seldom move with haste at the best of times.
Add to that the paralysing fear conjured up when set upon by a runaway plough.
Did I ever tell you how long it took the housemaid to steam clean my shirt until it was thoroughly devoid of stains? A whole week. No one seems to realize just how taxing it can be to remove brains from silk. But look at us, reminiscing like antiques past their prime. What brings you to my wing of the hospital? Is it case-related?
Marston and I believe the notorious Ripper may in actual fact be in your employ.
That is a tremendously bold statement to utter.
Freddy's face was a mask of serenity. Reaching across his desk, plucking the pipe from its perch. Eye contact unbroken. With the finesse, unsurprisingly, of a surgeon, he stuffed a wad of tobacco into the bowl, lit it, and inhaled deeply.
You're quite certain you suspect this person works here?
Well, it's but a hunch. But you of all people know how accurate they can be.
I've always admired your deductive skills. I take it you've some evidence to back up this hunch of yours? As I recall, you pride yourself quite dearly on finding the right suspect.
A good detective may sometimes condemn the wrong man to save face. a great one, ensures no innocents are incarcerated. The suspect's odour was laden with the scent of medical cleaning fluids.
Hardly a confirmation of your theory. One can purchase those very same products from any number of shops.
If you would be so kind to allow me to continue, the initial aroma was generic. As you have so precisely pointed out, it could have been any medical facility.
Exactly. Do please divulge the incontrovertible evidence waiting in the wings for their cue with bated breath.
My suspect had very recently eaten at Carmine's.
I warned Sebastian not to buy his lunch from that filth wagon.
My hunch was accurate. He isn't a butler. He's the Ripper and you're protecting him.
Your hunch is partially correct. He's a junior surgeon and we are the Rippers. The group number's 8, though my operation is growing. Not even a chortle or the merest titter. My operation? I'm in the medical profession.
Comedy isn't one of your strong suits.
Oh, you never did have faith in my jokes.
Oh, come on, Fred. Your material's hardly Gilbert and Sullivan. It wasn't even Herschel Pabst.
What I will tell on Pabst. Severed arms truly seem to have minds of their own. Impossible, of course. It's been severed from the body, which has blocked all electrical impulses passing into the median, ulnar, and radial nerves.
Using this momentary distraction to my advantage, I stampeded over Freddy's desk, pinning him to the wall with my gargantuan forehead.
But you're a man of medicine. What caused this about turn?
It may seem a sudden change, but even in my younger days, murder always appealed. Becoming a surgeon allowed me to partake every so often. The odd patient dies, it just wasn't meant to be. Treves tried his hardest.
And your co-conspirators? Why implicate so many in your crimes?
But it wasn't the initial plan, I can assure you. One evening over a few whiskies, Sebastian and I conversed at great length, and it began with the usual platitudes a doctor at his level is expected to bestow upon one such as myself, with such prestige. Eventually our discussion turned to the recent murders. The reports stated each victim had been dispatched with a precision only a skilled surgeon could possess, which he simply could not believe. No individual who had dedicated himself to saving the lives of others could carry out such heinous acts. His suspicions grew when I arrived late for an on-call night shift the very same evening another victim was found. Well, I feared he could turn me in, but on the contrary, he desired to assist and knew of other like-minded souls, all too keen to lend a hand.
These murders must cease, Fred.
Never!
You'll need more strength behind your punches. Sitting behind a desk has caused your once stern muscles to atrophy.
My muscles may have withered, my mind has grown ever sharper. Look what I have. Some tasty peanuts.
This is an abuse of our long-standing friendship. You know all too well that peanuts are my only weakness.
And mice.
For the 50th time, elephants aren't scared of mice. It's propaganda invented by...
Well, keep your distance, Joe, and the nuts shan't be harmed.
I followed his command. How could I not when peanuts had been brought into the equation? And not just any peanuts. These were honey roasted. The label informed me they'd been bought from the International House of Gourmet Nuts, a wonderful emporium nestled betwixt Oats and Goats and the communist paraphernalia store on Regent Street.
How do you plan to escape with 3 floors up?
Yes, well, the more pertinent question is how do you plan on catching me?
Oh God, it'll be at ground level in moments. Hello, reception? Contact the police. Tell them Merrick has a suspect and to put out an APB on Dr. Frederick Treves.
I rifled through Freddy's desk in the vain hope it may contain a clue as to his destination. I began to pound my clubbed hand against the mahogany tabletop. harder with each downward motion. It began to creak and shake like a coal miner's widow until finally it collapsed into splinters of unfiled paperwork. Turning unsteadily in the direction of the door, I spied a clue pinned to a notice board.
The abandoned fair in Shoreditch. That's where we'll find him.
Maybe we should have checked the notice board instead of destroying that rather splendid desk.
Those peanuts are the only thing I've eaten in 2 days.
Oh!
Yes, I'm hungry. I need to collect some important items from my room.
It's the one I wanted, you know.
Of course I know, you didn't out but whine about it for over a month. I required that room as the doorway of the adjacent living quarters isn't wide enough to allow my head to pass. They're both the same square footage. What did you find so tantalizing?
The view from its bay windows. A fine example of what this city has to offer.
An alley filled with rotting potatoes and dead crowbows?
Exactly. Wonderful.
Arresting Freddy tonight is my only hope of ensuring a full pardon. I must succeed. It's an astonishing sensation. Discovering an old friend hath chosen a life of crime. The familiar creak of worn floorboards caused my ears to twitch. Moving cautiously with the stealth of a Welsh terrier. Buried within the darkness, I could make out an impish silhouette. Twisting the release valve on the gas lamp revealed that blasted cat Marston insisted on buying as our office mascot. I removed an old wooden box that had been nestled betwixt a suitcase and a stack of old and, to my dismay, cat urine-soaked PI monthly publications. There she was, my good luck charm. Marston always besmirched the name I bestowed upon my sidearm. Should be something more beastly like Herbert or Murdercock, he so claimed. His lack of historical knowledge meant he had little idea about its namesake. Good old Elizabeth Bathroy. Loading 6 bullets into the chambers, locking it back, and holstering. I kneeled to slide the emergency bag from the darkness beneath my bed. With Equipmonk in hand, I exited the room and descended the staircase to meet Marston, praying he wasn't already 4 pipes deep.
Are you suitably prepared, old chap?
Blasted nigh, itching for a scrap.
Is that the name you've given your shotgun now?
You complained the previous moniker was too phallic, so I changed it.
Hackney!
Have your destination, sir?
The old fairground in Shoreditch. We're facing insurmountable odds, Marston. We may not live to see twilight turn to dawn.
You know, always hoped I'd die at a fun fair. Though in my dreams there's also a group of screaming children, and as a small mercy from the great Lord above, I get to watch them crushed to death before I too am pulverized by a runaway Ferris wheel. The Elephant's Eye, Part 3. Written, produced, and arranged by Kurt Howard, with additional writing by Mark Houssard. Horatio Fife as the narrator, Reginald Herlick as Joe Merrick, Kenneth Bonejangle as Marston, Hippolytia Monculus as the receptionist, David Kelly as the young doctor, John Cleese as Fred, and Ignatius Bloomers McSweetwater as the hackney carriage driver. An Elephantidae production.